My name is Mary Frances Dear Mitchell Moden. The Mitchell and Moden come from Mary names. I was born and raised in Clarkston, Mississippi. And I had two timelines to talk about. And in my first timeline event, I talked about myself as my adolescent stage. And during my adolescent stage, this was a time of my life that I was very depressed, having things that my family was pressuring me. And since out of 7 children, I was the youngest and I was the only girl. And I had to do a lot to prove myself to my family. And when all this started, that's why I chose adolescence, because during that time it was a very difficult time for me. And I started when I first entered into high school. And my first year entering high school, I was at Immaculate Conception High. This was a Catholic school. And that was in 1970. And in 1971, my second year in high school, I played basketball. I was a team captain. And I tried to do everything that I felt that my family would be proud of me in doing. But I felt that I disappointed them in 1972. I became a teenage mother at the age of 17. And that was a low point in my life. And I felt that I had disappointed my family and I had to do something to make them proud of me. And when you look at my timeline for both events, you would see that everything is related around school, education, because that was embedded in me from my family and wanted me to get a good education. During that time, I looked at the social change in my area that I lived in, and I looked at my physical appearance. I was changing in my body, and I looked at what was important for me and my family in getting a good education and completing high school, as well as the spiritual part of my life. My mother was very religious, and she embedded that into us, and I do not feel badly about during the time that I was pregnant and had to relate that I was not spiritual, because I was. It's just me being with my peers, and this is something that occurred. And I look at my timeline life as from adolescent, young adult, until middle age, which is where I am now. And I go back and I look at 1973. It was a great event in my young adolescent. That is when I graduated. I was out of school for 1 semester because I was pregnant, and I had to go back to school the next semester. And I did graduate with my class on time because I studied real hard and I made sure that I did my work in order to graduate. In 1975, I started college at Cajon Junior College, which now is Cajon Community College. That was a very high point in my life for my family. They was very proud of me, and I was proud of myself as well. Then in 1977, that is when I graduated from Cajon Community College. And after graduating from Cajon Community College, I did not go right on to college. I stayed out of school for like a year because I worked and helped my mother with the child that I had. And my mother always let me know that I need to continue school and that she would be there to help me in any way possible that she could. And that's what she did, and that is what motivated me in my life to continue to be successful when I was feeling at my down points. And that is related to my first timeline. And in talking about my second timeline, I guess my second timeline is more high points. But it built from my first timeline because I know I want to be successful and succeeded in everything that I would do. But as I said earlier, it goes back that all was in relating to my education. Yeah. For my second timeline, as I finished at Kahoma Community College, well, after that, I married. Then I moved to Jackson, Mississippi. And moving to Jackson, Mississippi, I felt that I needed to complete my education. So I got into social work, which I had 2 more years to finish my BS. So I received my social work degree from Jackson State University in 1982. And then I went on in 1986, I earned my bachelor's degree in social work. This is what motivated me to go into the community and work. And I got different jobs working in the community. But I realized I wanted to get a job, better job, and I need a better education. So I wanted to get a master's degree in social work. But during that time in 1997, Jackson State had not completed its curriculum for social work. So I went into the field of sociology, which is closely related to social work. Then after I completed my sociology degree, it was still motivating me to go on to be successful. Highlights of completing my sociology degree was my thesis was published entitled Working with Adolescents. And that was a very highlight in my life. Then I went on, as I was in school, I worked as well because I had a family and I had children. But that did not stop me because it always go back to my first timeline, is that my family pushed me and embedded that into me, that I need to have a good education and continue to do that until I was able to get it. Then I went on to work on my PhD in 2005. Now from 2005 to 2007, those were some very highlights in my life. And just look at macro, micro, and meso. And all that was all together from 2005 to 2007. This is when I started working on my PhD in higher education at Jackson State University. During that time, everything just blossomed for me. I remarried and I moved back to Clarksdale, Mississippi, which is my hometown. And when I got back here, I saw there was a lot of service that was needed. So I was able to go in, get a nonprofit organization. And the reason I was looking at entrepreneurship is because my dissertation, as working on my PhD, was in entrepreneurship. So that gave me the knowledge and the skills to make my Family and Youth Opportunity Division nonprofit organization, make it be able to bring it here to my hometown, provide services for the community, as well as doing something that I really wanted to do. And in Family Youth Opportunity, we have where I do continuing education for my social workers. And I've been doing that for about 7 years. But I only have a BSW. And the people that we provide the services to, most of them has master's degrees in social work. So I know at my age, I said, well, I don't think I need to go back to school because I have a PhD. But, I mean, having a PhD, but it's not a higher level in social work. And this is what I base my organization on, and pushing it and providing better service. And I know that I needed to go back so I can get more, be more knowledgeable, more skillful in what I am doing for the community and my organization. But I did not feel comfortable providing these workshops for the social workers, and I did not have a master's degree. So this is what encouraged me and prompted me to come back to school and complete my master's. So I know once completing the master's, I will be able to provide better service for the community, and I will feel much better within myself as being successful. Now, back in my timeline 1, we talked about that I worked with someone that was different in coming up. In timeline 1, there was not anyone, was to say different, because in the time of my life, we only basically worked or played or in school with African American, and they was the same, only different, they was female and male. So I don't really see a great difference that I worked with or growing up or in school with anyone that was really different. Now, in my second timeline, things have really changed. And to address that question in the timeline and working with someone that was different from me is yes. In my adolescence, I didn't have that. But in working and in school and working with the different fields, and of today, I worked with a coworker that was gay. And he was a very nice person, would help anyone that he could. And my coworkers would ask me, why are you going to lunch with him? Why do you sit with him and have conversation with him? When I first started working there, I had those same, I guess, feelings that maybe I shouldn't be around him. But in being a social worker, I know that I could not have those vibes, and I cannot judge anyone because of my profession. So I put my professional first, and in my professional, I look at the standards of the code of ethics, and that's why I base my life around and my professional, because I am a professional social worker, and I come in contact with professional social workers. So I know I cannot have any bias, and social workers need to recognize themselves. So that's why I always look and judge myself before I try to judge others. And as being a social worker, you always need to guide yourself daily. It's by the code of ethics standards. And I had the ability to assess and prevent and intervention, and I looked at evaluation. And before I can go out and help someone else, I had to make sure I do not have these vibes in me. And I'll have to continue to relate my life and my professional life as well as my personal life. And if I'm going to be in the social work arena and practice, then I need to remember all the code of ethics standards.